All right, good morning, everybody. First day of fall here today, September 22nd, so happy fall. Um, you should be following along with the notes either in class or that I provide for you on Schoology and Kami. So, when we talk about biology and the levels of life, we're going to organize life at different levels, okay, all the way down from molecular to the entire planet. So, what does that mean for you? Okay, that means that we're going to start all the way at atoms, okay? So, your smallest units are individual atoms, and the sort of most essential elements are listed here. And we abbreviate that with this little memory tool, CHNOPS. I guess there's different ways you could pronounce that, but carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. So does every biological molecule contain all of these? No, but almost all of them have at least carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay? You'll see nitrogen in proteins. You'll see phosphorus in DNA. You'll see sulfur in proteins. You'll see phosphorus in some fats or lipids. All right. After atoms, we go to molecules. So those, of course, very easy stuff. Those are combination of atoms. Now, they do get way bigger than these. So like a protein could be, thousands of molecules. A really big piece of cellulose or starch could be really big too, as far as number of atoms. All right. There are 4 different categories of biological molecules, and I've been mentioning those. And they are carbohydrates. So carbohydrates, a lot of these sound like nutritional words, okay? And they are. But we're going to think about them just a little differently. So carbohydrates are things like sugars, okay? Glucose on up to different starches. They are also, I want you to add one word right there, okay? Add the word cellulose. And that's basically plant structures. Humans cannot digest cellulose, okay? We just eat it and poop it out, and we call it fiber. So you can't really live off of something like celery or lettuce. It has a tiny bit of sugar and protein in it, but it's not enough for you to survive on. Now, some animals can live off of it because they have bacteria in their stomachs that can break it down. So if you're a cow, you can live off of hay, which is mainly cellulose, okay? Now, they like regular carbs, too, so they'll eat things like corn, which is more starchy. All right. Proteins, which are folded up amino acids. You've probably heard of amino acids. A lot of these things you can go into your nutrition stores like GNC and buy them, okay? Protein powder and so on. But anyway, in biological organisms, proteins have a lot of functions, okay? Structure. Whoops, let me go back. Structure like tendons and ligaments. They make up your muscles for movement. They make hormones. They make enzymes. And enzymes sort of are one of the chemical machines of cells. All right, lipids. Lipids is another name for fats, okay? And we have animal fats, like the fat on a steak or on bacon or on your gut, if you look like me. And then you have oils. Oils are mainly in plants. And so you might see like cooking oils. There's all different kinds of cooking oils. Olive oil, vegetable oil, corn oil. And then you can get into some more fancy ones like grapeseed oil, okay? If you're into fragrances, you can get into essential oils like peppermint oil and things like that. A lot of those are made by humans, but some of them aren't, like oils that make fragrances for flowers, like rose oil. They're very, very expensive. It takes a lot of roses to make rose oil. All right. Lastly, we have something called nucleic acids. Those will have nitrogen and phosphorus in them. So things like DNA. Okay, so that's what's in your cells. That sort of is the instructions on how to build proteins. DNA, and then RNA is involved in that process too. We're going to get into that later. All right, so biological molecules come in 4 major categories. You should know what these are, and you should know examples of each, okay? And you should know their functions. Carbohydrates, energy. Proteins are building blocks. Fats are long-term energy storage, okay? And nucleic acids are information molecules. They store information. Okay, for cells, now we're sort of from molecules that make up the cells back to cells, okay? Cells are the smallest thing that we can consider alive, using our 8 characteristics we talked about. And there are 2 major categories of cells. And some of this we looked at yesterday. Prokaryotes, and those have no nucleus, no organelles, and a lot of times they'll say no membrane bound, okay? So that means they don't have any organelles surrounded by a membrane. Sorry, I'm getting ahead. I keep clicking accidentally. So they can do a lot of cellular work, but they do it very generally. They don't have a nucleus. They just have like an area with DNA. All right. Eukaryotes are way more complex, and these make up pretty much everything but bacteria, plants, animals, mushrooms. And a memory tool is like you are a eukaryote, so you have all these you have a lot more complexity than bacteria. All right. So 2 types of cells. All right. Cells, if you're not single-celled, if you're not a single-celled organism, like a paramecium or something like, or an amoeba, cells are organized into tissues, okay? And some animals only have a few basic tissues. Like if you're a sponge, you might just have 1 layer, but it's still a tissue. Humans have all different kinds of tissues, but they're divided into 4 different categories. We won't get into that class too much. If you like that stuff, take anatomy and phys. Okay, so what are some examples of tissue? Cartilage, bone, blood. And we can take this list out really far. Cardiac, that'd be like heart muscle. We could go out and talk about like nervous tissue that makes up your brain. We could talk about epithelial tissue that makes up your skin. We could talk about the tissue that makes up your kidneys, full of tiny tubes. So there's a lot we can get into here. And tissues can even be liquid, like blood is a liquid tissue. All right, you take a tissue and you bundle it into a set of tissues that has a very specific job, and we call that an organ. So what are some organ examples? Pretty easy. Your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your eye. A bone is actually considered an organ. Your skin, your brain. The list can go on, really. A muscle is an organ. All right. So there's some examples we put there. I use human examples quite a bit, but there are plant examples too. So you have things like flowers, leaves. fruits. All right. I'm watching pencils to see if you're keeping up. How's my pace? You guys okay? Or oh, good? Sometimes I get a little fast when I'm recording. All right, let's go on. So we've got organs. We take a group of organs that do a specific job and we make an organ system. So you've probably heard of things like your digestive system. That has a lot of organs in it. It starts with your teeth and your mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, colon, liver, gallbladder, pancreas. All those go together to do digestion. There's others as well. Your respiratory system, which includes your nose, trachea, bronchioles, lungs. Your circulatory system, heart, capillaries, arteries, and veins. Your nervous system, all your nerves, spinal cord, and brain, okay? Plants have organ systems too. Plants need to transport water around, and they have a vascular system to take water up and down. And you can kind of see this picture down here that has the guy with different organ systems broken out. Your skeletal system. All right. We take an organ system and we get multiple organ systems all working together, and you've got yourself an organism. An organism is anything that meets all those 8 characteristics of life. Growth, responds to the environment, has a metabolism, reproduction. Anything that has all those 8 characteristics of life. All right. So there's your examples. I'm sure you could come up with many, many more. All right, I'm not going to wait too long on examples because those are pretty easy. All right, I think we're on our last slide. We'll stop here on this lecture. Make sure you're watching these online if it's your day to be at home. Okay, that's sort of your assignment to when you're working from home, is to stay caught up on things like this. All right, again, happy first day of fall. If you need help on any of this, please reach out to me.